Hey, Sam. Hope you're doing okay. Hope everything's coming along good with the class, which is Introduction to the Old Testament. A couple of housekeeping things. Enrollment quiz. Make sure you take that. If you don't, you're not going to get enrolled in the class, and we want you enrolled, so make sure you take that. Also, at the beginning of each week, you're going to see a little tab that says Week Preview and Guiding Questions. Please make sure you click on that each and every week because it gives you kind of the quick and dirty of the week. It gives you some guiding questions to kind of help you or facilitate your study throughout the week so you know kind of what to be looking for as you're studying. It also gives you your reading assignments, and it gives you what's due, as far as assignments that will be graded. For example, this week we have a forum discussion on the creation narratives. Forum discussions work like this. Make sure you get this. I will give you a prompt. You will respond to that prompt by Saturday at midnight. Reason it's due on Saturday is because we have to respond to at least one other student's post. Okay, your first post, your initial post where you're responding to my prompt, is worth 80 points. The response to another student's post is worth 20 points, and it must be due. It must be turned in by Tuesday at midnight. So first post Saturday, or your initial post Saturday at midnight. Your response to another student's post Tuesday at midnight. You also have a writing assignment where you're basically telling me about the Abrahamic covenant. The details for each of the assignments are right there when you click on them. And basically you're going to submit that through Moodle in a Word document or whatever word processor you happen to be using. I can usually open most anything. But if I can't, I will email you back and let you know and see if you can find some other way to get it to me. Also, resources. There is a tab marked resources. I can't remember if it's in topic 1 or week 1, but it's in one of those first two boxes, big boxes. Excuse me. In one of those first two big boxes. And it's marked resources. Click on that. There's a lot of links to different websites, articles, magazines, some videos, maybe YouTube channels. I don't know. There's a bunch of different types of resources there. Very important because you want to draw from as many resources as you can. There's a lot of diverse views on how to interpret the Bible and how to analyze it. So I've tried to put up a lot of different resources there as far as that's concerned. And so whenever you're going through this course, you can always refer back to that resource tab, and you'll see some different places you can go to for some help and to get some more information to help you with your assignments. A couple that you can actually pick up in a bookstore if you want to do some more in-depth study, or you're just getting interested in the Old Testament. One is Haley's Bible Handbook. You can get this usually at a Christian bookstore, or you can get it at a regular bookstore in the Christian section, or off of Amazon, which is where I get everything I buy. Matter of fact, I bought a bed off of Amazon recently. But so this is a good little book. It highlights some of the main characters in the Bible. It hits some of the big issues like the Abrahamic covenant and different things like that. And it's very simply written. It's certainly not going to be over your head. Matter of fact, I think somebody in junior high or high school could actually read this and get something out of it. So it's not a real dense book as far as that's concerned. Another resource that's actually pretty available, if you've got an e-reader, something like a Kindle, or maybe you've got a Kindle app on your phone, you can go to Amazon. You can pick this up. It's called the New Geneva Introduction to the Old Testament, edited by R.C. Sproul. You can pick it up for 99 cents. I just checked it. I think I got it for $1.99 last year, so I should have waited. But anyway, 99 cents for the price. You can't beat it. A lot of good information in here, and it's not a terribly long book either. So probably could be helpful. Let me get in the book of Genesis real quick, and I'll try to make this brief. What we see in Genesis is God creating the heavens and the earth. He calls it good in chapter 1. And then in chapter 2, starting about verse 4, it's almost like the story starts over. So you have like the famous 7 days in chapter 1. And then in chapter 2, verse 4, it's like, again, the story kind of starts over. And for a lot of critical scholars, they would say, okay, this is evidence that what has happened is that a later editor has come back and he's put several different resources together. This is called the documentary hypothesis, and you can read about this in your textbook. And I think the HarperCollins Study Bible Introduction also mentions this as well. And what it's saying is that you basically have two different stories, and they've tried to link them and make one story out of them. Other scholars would argue that what you have in chapter 1 is just as what a normal practice for ancient writers is. They give you a brief overview, just a real quick and dirty of everything that's going down, and then they zoom in and kind of focus on one of the major or most important aspects of that story. So you have the quick overview of the 7 days of creation, and then you kind of got the zooming in on the creation of man to see the details of how that went about. And so that's how some of the scholars would argue that. Very quickly, what happens in chapter 3 is that sin enters the picture. You see how that transpires. This is the eating of the forbidden fruit, so to speak. And what ends up happening is that from that point on, according to Christian theology, is that all of creation and even man's nature is marred by sin. And sin then is not something that you do, but it becomes a corruption of human nature. And the effects of this are with us today. We see poverty, we see war, we see injustice, sickness, and disease. And there are all kinds of movements that rise up to try to address this. And deep down, people look around the world and they see that something is not right in the world. And Christian and Jewish theology would say the problem with the world is sin. Sin has all different kinds of effects and ramifications, and those things have reverberated throughout all of history, and they do so throughout the book of Genesis. You see the negative consequences and the negative effects of sin. Human nature itself is marred. People become selfish. People become brutal. And so what ends up happening is that you see in the book of Genesis man at his worst in some aspects. In fact, man becomes so corrupted and so marred that by chapter 6 or 7, what ends up happening is that man decides to wipe the world clean, or God decides to wipe the world clean and start over with one guy named Noah, who, by the way, wasn't that great a guy either, who gets drunk and naked in his tent after the flood. And so you see that transpiring. Again, sin kind of touches every aspect of life. And we see, again, even today, we think deep down something's wrong. I mean, every couple of years, politicians come out and they point out all the things that are wrong in society and promise to fix them. They promise to be saviors in a sense. And what the Bible is essentially saying, and kind of even points to when this happens, is that God himself will have to come down and fix the problem. Adam and Eve, they attempt to fix the problem by covering themselves with fig leaves. God comes down, actually fixes the problem by covering them with skins. Blood would have to be shed. And that blood being shed will be something that is a theme throughout the Old Testament and even goes into the New Testament with the shedding of the blood of Jesus Christ. So, after the flood, God picks out another guy. Again, a guy that's not really that good a guy. We find later on he lies about who his wife is in order to escape persecution. He ends up disobeying God and cheating on his wife by sleeping with another woman in an attempt to have a son. And so, not that great of a guy, but God makes a covenant with this guy. His name was Abram. He eventually becomes known as Abraham. And that covenant is, I'm going to bless you, I'm going to make your name great, and all the world is going to be blessed through your seed. In other words, I'm going to give you a child, and eventually what's going to happen is that your people will be a great blessing to the world. And so that was what they call a unilateral promise or unilateral covenant between Abraham and God. Also included in that promise was a little piece of real estate we know of today as Israel, also known as Canaan in the Bible, Palestine also today. And Abraham would eventually have a son after a long wait. He would have a son by the name of Isaac. Isaac would have twin boys, Esau and Jacob. Jacob would be the one, even though he was younger, that would carry on the family name. Jacob would eventually be changed. His name would be changed. He has an encounter with God where he wrestles, or with an angel, where he wrestles with an angel. Some commentators have thought it was God. And he changes his name to Israel. Israel has 12 sons. And those 12 sons become known as the 12 tribes of Israel. And all modern day Jews and most Jews of the Bible seek to trace their ancestry back to one of those 12 sons. And the math on that may get a little bit tricky there, because Joseph, which was one of Jacob or Israel's sons, actually breaks down into his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And then sometimes Levi is not included in that. So anyway, just some tricks on that as you're reading through. You'll see some of that. But anyway, what ends up happening is that one of Israel's sons, or Jacob's sons, Joseph, is betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, goes down into Egypt. There's a famine many years later. Israel sends his sons, or Jacob sends his sons down into Egypt. They go to Egypt, come to find out their little brother is a ruler in Egypt now. He ends up saving them from the famine. The whole family comes and lives down in Egypt, and the book of Genesis ends. Okay? And then you'll start in the book of Exodus 400 years later, and they're not living as guests anymore. They're enslaved. But here's the big deal, or kind of the couple of little, I shouldn't say big deal, but there's a couple of little things I kind of want to point out. The Bible is a real book. Genesis is evidence of that. You look at Genesis and you find the main characters are not heroes, to say the least. You see them warts, flaws, and all. Let me just give you a couple of weird examples of how real this book can be. There's one guy who actually ends up having children with his daughters. Okay, they think the end of the world has transpired, and anyway, they want to have sons and they want to continue on the human race, and so they get their father drunk and end up having sex with him, and they end up having children by him. So that occurs. So some of us think our families are dysfunctional. Wow. Israel, or Jacob's family, they're herders. And they're herding in this region that's ruled by a certain king. The king's son falls in love with one of Jacob's daughters, Diana, I think, Dina, something like that. Falls in love with her, and he's got it bad. All right, this is just another story of how crazy the things can get in the Bible. He's got it bad. He comes to Jacob. He's like, "Look, I want to marry your daughter. I got it bad. I got the hots for her, whatever." And Jacob and his crew are pretty peculiar about who they marry, and they say, "Look, that's fine. You can do that, but here's the thing: if you're going to marry our daughter, you need to be circumcised." Well, sometime between then and the time they were circumcised, the prince cannot contain himself. He ends up raping Jacob's daughter. Now Levi and one of his brothers, I think it's Reuben, I can't remember, but Levi and one of his brothers, maybe Reuben, they don't take too kindly to this, to say the least. And so when these guys are circumcised, I think on like the second or third day, when they're at their highest pain point. Now, some of you who are men, you would probably really kind of appreciate this pain here. You're talking about grown men getting their foreskin cut off. The second or third day afterwards is the most painful of that day. So all the men of this city have been circumcised so that they can marry, so that prince can marry this daughter. Reuben and Levi, I think it's Reuben, in an attempt to avenge their sister's disgrace, decide that on that day they're going to enter the city and they will kill every man in the city. Well, pretty much every man in the city is defenseless because they can hardly move because they're in so much pain. This is absolutely a slaughter. These guys are getting up trying to fight, can't hardly, in so much pain, can't hardly go. And so, Levi and the rest of the boys, they just have their way with them, and they end up piling up the bodies. So, again, you think your family's dysfunctional. That's the kind of stuff you're going to see throughout the book of Genesis. Very interesting book. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget your assignments, and any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email.